The mysterious Mojave megaphone. This massive, mysterious device, like a megaphone, is fastened to a pair of rocks situated atop a 100-foot hill in a secluded desert stretch that separates the towns of Baker and Ludlow. Although they are often hourglass-shaped, other people claim that its design is more akin to a rocket nozzle. Made of heavy iron strips welded together, it is approximately 8 feet long. Numerous tourists and historians have looked for an explanation of how and why it got there. Though there are many possibilities, its origins and why it was created remain a mystery. According to one idea, the US Army utilized the megaphone to augment a siren that warned nearby residents while it was conducting covert chemical or gas testing. According to a completely different theory, tourists would hike out there and cover the ends of the object with skin in order to make it sound like a drum. Whatever its origins, seeing this mysterious megaphone above the cliffs is an unusual and startling sight. Canadian police investigate after 14th human foot washes up on the coastline. A human foot washed up on British Columbia's shoreline, bringing the total number of times tides have transported a shoe-clad foot onto the province's coastline to 14 since 2007. This is the subject of an investigation by Canadian authorities. According to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the most recent gruesome find was made on Gabriola Island in the Georgia Strait. Just after midday, a man walking on the beach noticed something inside a hiking boot that looked like a foot. The police stated in a statement that the boot had become stuck, and after this story was picked up by various news outlets, the discovery caused thousands of people to question why this was happening. 13 more feet, all wearing running shoes, have washed up in British Columbia since 2007, with investigators saying that these are just the ones we know about. Some have connected the gloomy discoveries to marine catastrophes or airline or boat mishaps, as well as natural tragedies like the 2004 tsunami. Some have speculated that the feet could be the product of organized crime. In December 2017, a man walking his dog along Vancouver Island's southern shore discovered one of these feet. His dog noticed something entangled in sea kelp and leaned in to investigate. What he saw was a left foot with its fibula and tibia connected, all covered in a black Velcro shoe and white sock. The foot subsequently belonged to a 79-year-old Washington state man who went missing and was subsequently discovered deceased. According to the province's coroner department, they are unsure of what happened. The provincial coroner's office had previously ruled out foul play, pointing out that none of the feet displayed any evidence of damage. 2 pairs of the 8 recognized feet were among them, and all the other lone feet belonged to males. Regarding this most recent discovery, authorities stated that they are presently collaborating with both the provincial coroner and their forensic identification department to attempt to identify the remains. King Charles's portrait. The new portrait of King Charles that was displayed at Buckingham Palace has caused a huge internet controversy. The painting attracted attention right away because of its strangeness and red brushstrokes. A lot of people on social media compared the red streaks to blood, and others even said there was a demonic presence. The controversy was further heightened by a video that purported to show a terrifying horned creature. It goes without saying that many people had something to say about the painting, with one social media user saying that the new King Charlie image puts them off. A king's official portrait serves as a visual representation of their authority and power. It portrays the monarch in a dignified manner, often wearing regal attire and adorned with symbols of sovereignty such as crowns, scepters, and royal insignia. This representation reinforces the monarch's status as the supreme leader and head of state, conveying a sense of legitimacy and continuity of the monarchy. However, many individuals claimed that this painting is in a totally distinct manner and doesn't depict the past kings and queens that have had their portraits painted. Hiker takes a photograph and makes a chilling discovery. Sailor Gilliams is only still alive because she dyed her hair red. The 22-year-old and her 22-year-old friend Brendan Vega were hiking a route in Santa Barbara, California. Their lack of knowledge was evident, as they found the terrain to be more hazardous than anticipated and had difficulty returning to their car as night fell. Then, Gilliams fractured her left leg after landing awkwardly after leaping from a boulder. From there, things just got worse. They didn't have flashlights with them, and their cell phones ran out of battery. Vega fell while attempting to carry Gilliams, breaking his foot, his elbow, and his glasses. The couple's enjoyable day outside had quickly turned into a nightmare. Gilliams stayed where he was, unable to move, while Vega went to fetch assistance. That was her last memory of him. She commented that even though she was losing consciousness, she was screaming for help the entire night and the following day. She stopped believing that someone would locate her and thought that she would pass away and no one would be able to help her. Her lungs had failed, and she had stopped screaming by the following afternoon. With flies flying all around, Gilliams laid face down in mud and leaves. 3 hikers came into the area at this time. Nicole Gergen noticed a glimpse of a flame of red hair in her peripheral vision and then noticed it moving. At Hasbro Children's Hospital in Rhode Island, 29-year-old pediatric resident Gergen recognized that Gilliams's injuries might be fatal. Her partner Joe Villapiano and his brother-in-law Peter Biava accompanied her on the walk as well. Villapiano made a 911 call. He was the only one who had brought his cell phone, although Biava had first advised against it so they might have a stronger connection with the natural world. The 28-year-old Biava recounted that this route had dangerous boulders and rocks, so no one else was there. It was also Monday afternoon during business hours. The 33-year-old Villapiano then got in touch with Gilliams's mother and aunt. Because he was so afraid, he went to the police station. Her mother, Sandy Lipkin, told news outlets that they had no idea where she was. Since she hadn't seen her daughter in a while, she was concerned when Gilliams didn't return her calls. Sailor Gilliams arrived at Cottage Hospital via airlift. She was told 2 days later that Vega had been discovered, and it was reported that he had passed away most likely from a fall while he was trying to get assistance. The funeral for Vega's son was postponed by his mother so that Gilliams could attend. After 11 months and 5 surgeries, Gilliams is now employed as her mother's legal assistant and has returned to Ventura College to continue her education. The impact of her injuries motivated her to register in a holistic healing course. After the incident, Jeff Gilliams made a life-changing decision to spend more time with his daughter by retiring from the Navy after 14 years of service. He stated it was doubtful that anyone would have found his daughter for months if it weren't for the 3 hikers. Biava, who subsequently secured employment as a treasurer for an asset management company, is still in awe of her good fortune. Biava claimed that they weren't even in California the morning it happened. The previous evening, he had flown red-eye from Florida. For her part, Gilliams said that she now stays on the trails. The last photo of Geraldine Largay on the Appalachian Trail. Geraldine Largay, aged 68, was a former Air Force nurse who enjoyed taking lengthy hikes in the Tennessee area around her house. She made the decision, in the summer of 2013, to take on the task of hiking the entire length of the Appalachian Trail in 6 months, much like many other ardent hikers. She started off hiking with a buddy named Jane Lee, but eventually went it alone. On July 22, 2013, she was last spotted by other hikers at the Poplar Ridge shelter on the trail. Then she was gone. She went off the route to relieve herself on July 23, 2013, and it didn't seem like she could find her way back. Jerry had only lived for 26 days in the wilderness before her untimely passing, and it took more than 2 years for her remains to be found. July 23, 2013, Jerry was lost and attempted to text her husband. She said that she was in some trouble at approximately 11 in the morning. Unfortunately, due to inadequate mobile connectivity in the area, the text was never sent. After that, Geraldine made 10 more attempts to send the text in the following hour and a half in an attempt to get higher ground. After failing to get in touch with George, she finally made the decision to camp for the night. George got really worried the next day and called the police to report that he thought Jerry might be missing. The Warden Service launched the formal search operation, involving search planes, state police, fire departments, and rangers from national parks. Sadly, severe rainy weather was plaguing the area at the time, making it more difficult to find Geraldine. To try and follow a scent, they utilized canine teams, conducted interviews with hikers, and sought side trails. However, despite a thorough search, Geraldine was nowhere to be seen, and it appeared as though the wild had engulfed her. Jane Lee, Jerry's first hiking partner, informed wardens that her buddy occasionally struggled to keep up, and found it difficult to navigate with a map and compass. Before a personal situation took her away, Jane Lee had trekked a significant portion of the trail with Largay. Geraldine's remains were eventually discovered in the vicinity of Reddington Township, near the Reddington Stream, in October 2015, more than 2 years after she was reported missing. It was then discovered that Geraldine had lived for about 2 months in the wilderness before she perished from starvation and the elements. She waited in vain for an unshown rescue squad. But despite approaching the camp to within around 100 yards, at least 3 K9 teams were unable to find her. Her camp was discovered and documented on video by a team working on the Animal Planet reality series Northwoods Law. 3 miles from her last known location, on US Navy property in Reddington, the body was discovered. The location is rather inaccessible and highly remote, and the Navy uses it for its survival, evasion, resistance, and escape program. Being in a dense forest with the tent tucked under a few giant trees whose branches blocked the sky made it hard to spot the campsite unless you were standing right near to it. To keep her tent dry, Jerry had constructed a sleeping place out of small trees and pine needles. To add some protection, she had tied a space blanket between branches. The neighboring trees were blackened and burnt, indicating that she had also attempted to start fires. Maps, a space blanket, a raincoat, string, Ziploc bags, a functioning torch, dental floss, a blue baseball cap, and a handcrafted necklace with a white stone tied in twine were among the items they discovered within the camp. Despite being so close to her camp on multiple occasions, it appeared that the sniffer dogs were unable to detect her scent since her remains were inside the tent. However, given the close proximity of searchers to Jerry's camp, it was puzzling why she didn't detect their movements and alert for assistance. Maybe by then, hunger and dehydration had worn her out too much. However, it does seem a little puzzling that Geraldine evaded detection by the numerous search parties and was unable to locate the neighboring logging road. The fact that she was in a US Navy training facility adds to the mystery surrounding her whereabouts. The Derrida creature. The Derrida creature is the recovered carcass of an unknown creature believed to be of supernatural origin, discovered at the side of Highway 12, located within the state of Louisiana. The creature is described as possessing primate-like legs and arms, ending in opposable thumbs on all 4 limbs, having the head of a canine-like creature, a body completely covered in thick, large furs, similar to a sheep, and completely covered in brownish-black fur from head to toe. The dimensions of the creature's remains are believed to have been an estimated 4 to 5 feet in length, weighing more than 250 pounds. Back in 1996, a woman by the name of Barbara Mullins was driving down Highway 12, found in the state of Louisiana, when she noticed the body of a strange animal located on the side of the highway. Curious as to what the creature was, Barbara Mullins pulled over to the side of the road and got out of her vehicle to make a closer inspection. Originally, due to the amount of body hair on the animal that appeared to puff out in many different directions, Barbara had assumed that the creature was a St. Bernard dog that had been hit by a passing car and dragged to the side of the road. However, it soon became apparent that the carcass was evidence of something far more unusual. Upon closer inspection, Barbara Mullins could see in clear detail that the limbs of the creature ended in strange human-like hands, similar to that of a primate. The face of the creature, however, seemed dog or fox-like in appearance, with small pointed ears, and the body hair of the creature was a puffy dark brown, completely unlike any known primate species. Believing that she had stumbled on evidence of an escaped zoo animal or unknown undiscovered creature, Barbara Mullins would return to her vehicle to pull out a camera and take several high-quality photographs of the creature from different angles, as well as having another driver within the picture frame. Although the identity of the other driver is unknown, Barbara Mullins claims the person in the picture was a random driver who had stopped at the scene sometime after Barbara herself began taking pictures. Shortly after the mysterious driver had arrived on scene, the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries would soon show up and remove the carcass from the side of Highway 12 with the express purpose claiming that they were going to conduct an investigation on the identity of the creature. On the 5th of September, several days following the discovery of the carcass, the DeQuincy News would become aware of the strange discovery and run several articles on the bizarre nature of the unidentifiable fauna, claiming that the creature could have been evidence of the chupacabra, or the commonly cited devil monkey of North America. Although the unknown carcass, referred to as the Derrida roadkill, had been within the possession of the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, the State Department decided to send the carcass to the Louisiana State University for more scientific research to be conducted. After a year of having the carcass within their possession, the Louisiana State University claimed that they were not equipped with the necessary scientific equipment required to conduct a more thorough research and accurately identify the species of animal, and so decided to transfer the carcass to an unknown private lab to conduct further investigations. After 4 years of possessing the Derrida roadkill carcass, it would later be revealed that the private lab had sold the remains of the animal to an unknown private collector. No official scientific inquiries into the species of the animal have surfaced. In an effort to explain away the cause of the carcass, the official stance of the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries claimed that the animal remains belonged to a Pomeranian dog, despite the typical Pomeranian dog weighing only 7 pounds and being less than 8 inches tall, whereas the carcass was described as being as estimated 200 pounds and almost 3 feet in length. Additionally, the official stance does not help to accurately explain the primate-like feat of the creature. Dissatisfied with the official explanation, researcher Roy Young would begin to conduct a formal private inquiry into the carcass to locate the potential buyer of the Derrida roadkill from the suspected private labs. By the year 2000, Roy Young was able to gain access to the original high-quality photos of the creature and believed that the animal was connected to the local Louisiana legends of the Rougarou, a Cajun werewolf legend dating back to the early 1600s and adopted by the French legends of the loup-garou. For some added context, the popularity of the loup-garou would reach its height during the French colonization of the Americas, with many of the travelers having been told stories of the creature and believed that the untamed woods of the Canadian countryside could have been the perfect hiding spot for a large wolfman. Throughout the early 16th century, many French colonists claimed to have spotted a large wolf that could stand upright and walk like a man, though they did not say that the animal had the body of a man, merely that it was a large unknown wold, many times larger than any wolf they had previously seen in Europe, that could walk and run on its hind legs. Back in 1794, a wealthy French fur trader, who had been traveling back and forth between France and the American colonies, described an encounter with the loup-garou, claiming that a creature of about 7 feet in height, the head of a wolf and the body of a man covered with furs, had been stalking his caravan through the woods as they traveled and had watched them from its red, glowing eyes. In the modern day, the legends of the loup-garou are mostly told in French-Canadian states, since many of the original American French colonists would travel to Canada during the era of United States independence. Given the fact that Cajuns tend to speak a slang-style archaic version of French, specifically referred to as the Cajun dialect, the loup-garou legends have been transformed into the rougarou legends. The rougarou seems to hold more of a North American dogman influence and less of the traditional werewolf-style legends. Rather than the night of a full moon or the insatiable bloodlust of a transforming man, the rougarous are believed to be a supernatural dogman creature capable of appearing and disappearing, similar to a demon. Believing that the recovered Derrida carcass was evidence of the possible source of the Cajun rougarou legends, Roy Young would begin expanding his search for potential collectors of werewolf-like collections, or those deeply connected with the legends surrounding other similar Southern-style monsters, such as the skunk ape of the Honey Island swamp monster. It would be towards the end of the year that Roy Young would make contact with a private collector who wished to stay anonymous and claimed to have been in possession of the skeletal remains of the Derrida roadkill. Although Young has been secretive about the identity of the man, the collector was believed to have been from around the Lake Charles area. Unfortunately, after meeting up with the man and looking at the skeletal remains, it became obvious to research Roy Young that the recovered carcass was nothing more than the skeletal remains of a random dog, and were not the authentic remains of the Derrida roadkill. Shortly after this encounter, the researcher would end his search for the Derrida roadkill with the belief that the private collector responsible for the purchase of the remains would never make himself public. Theories and connections. The disappearance of Jeremiah Jamal Parker. On the 11th of April, back in 2004, A 19-year-old American man would be reported missing after visiting the North Sherwood Forest Park, located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Several theories have connected Jeremiah Parker's bizarre disappearance with the Honey Island swamp monster, as the location of his disappearance runs adjacent to US Highway 12, a major traffic way that runs straight through the Louisiana Honey Island swamp, and has been at the center of a number of impossible-to-explain eyewitness encounters of the monster. According to the official missing persons report, at around 6 in the evening on April 11th on Easter Sunday, Jeremiah Parker had journeyed to the North Sherwood Forest Park for a moment of relaxation. Accompanying Mr. Parker was his cousin, who has chosen to remain unidentified. According to the cousin, while Mr. Parker was with him, they had been talking about a movie that Jeremiah had recently seen and was deeply moved by. Suddenly, Mr. Parker's cousin claimed that Jeremiah decided to park at the North Sherwood Forest Park for some unknown reason and stepped out of his vehicle, leaving him in the car with the engine still running. After waiting for a few minutes, the cousin would step out of the vehicle to look for his cousin, who was nowhere to be found. When investigators combed the region shortly after, Jeremiah Parker's cell phone and one of his shows were later found in an area behind a row of trees that rested adjacent to a large fishing pond, believing that Parker must have been through the region, though no other sign of him was recovered. The official missing persons report would describe that Parker was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, grey shorts, an LA Dodgers baseball cap, and a pair of Nike shoes, with no other items accompanying him at the time of his disappearance. Without looking into the incident too much further, as well as there being no body to recover, investigators believed that Jeremiah Parker must have disappeared and travelled out of state for personal reasons, with the belief that the 19-year-old may have left for Canada. Parker's family, however, refuses to believe the conclusions of the investigators, citing that Jeremiah was never known for leaving his home for more than a day at a time and always returning before dark. Given the rather scrawny nature of Jeremiah Parker, with physical dimensions described by family as being approximately 120 pounds and only roughly 5.5 feet tall, it was uncharacteristic of him to suddenly disappear without telling anyone. Additionally, the family claimed that Jeremiah Parker was still in the middle of finishing up his associate's degree from the Baton Rouge Community College at the time of his disappearance, a small degree that he was still paying for while working at the local Wendy's old-fashioned hamburgers fast food joint. Investigators would later learn, however, that Jeremiah Parker had made several statements to family members about him leaving soon after he had watched a movie that gave him an intense emotional reaction. According to his mother, the film that he was often referring to was The Passion of the Christ, and had deeply moved Parker in such a way that many had often described his behavior as rather unusual in the days prior to his sudden disappearance. Regardless of these facts, Parker's cousin believes that Jeremiah's disappearance is related to the strange fishing pond located at the North Sherwood Forest Park. Though the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries states that no dangerous animals live in the pond, such as the commonly sighted alligators throughout the Louisiana region, the cousin is convinced that a large creature must have attacked and dragged Jeremiah Parker deep underwater. No further evidence has surfaced in recent years surrounding the incident. Given the fact that the Derrida roadkill was discovered within the state of Louisiana, an area rich in stories of encounters with a werewolf-like creature referred to as the rougarou, many researchers have made the connection between the discovered remains and the rougarou itself. According to several French publications surrounding local legends, the loup-garou, a title that directly translates to the title of wolfman, is a werewolf-like creature that is known for stalking the French countryside. Not many specified accounts of the loup-garou have been recorded, as the creature was mostly told as a rumor of a monster lurking out across the countryside. Yet the legend has surfaced several times in publications surrounding local folktales. The popularity of the loup-garou would reach its height during the French colonization of the Americas, with many of the travelers having been told stories of the creature and believed that the untamed woods of the Canadian countryside could have been the perfect hiding spot for a large wolfman. Throughout the early 16th century, many French colonists claimed to have spotted a large wolf that could stand upright and walk like a man, though they did not say that the animal had the body of a man, merely that it was a large, unknown wold, many times larger than any wolf they had previously seen in Europe, that could walk and run on its hind legs. Back in 1794, a wealthy French fur trader who had been traveling back and forth between France and the American colonies described an encounter with the loup-garou, claiming that a creature of about 7 feet in height, the head of a wolf and the body of a man covered with furs, had been stalking his caravan through the woods as they traveled and had watched them from its red, glowing eyes. In the modern day, the legends of the loup-garou are mostly told in French-Canadian states, since many of the original American French colonists would travel to Canada during the era of United States independence. The only other predominantly French-speaking community left in the United States were the descendants of African slaves that mixed many aspects of their culture with Haitian and French influences and are commonly referred to as the Cajuns of the American South. Anonymous have just revealed that the TSA is quietly rolling out facial recognition technology to 400 US companies. The implementation of facial recognition screening in airports will soon become a reality for Americans, with a new program gradually introducing this technology at 400 different locations throughout the United States. This initiative, which is being discreetly rolled out, aims to enhance security measures and streamline the airport screening process. The Transportation Security Administration is currently in the initial phases of incorporating automated facial recognition technology into its existing systems, which are designed to authenticate travelers' identification documents. The enhancement being introduced, purportedly designed to collect only essential data, will cross-reference the individual's facial features with their official identification, flight particulars, and security clearance. This facial recognition technology is currently operational at 25 different airports across the region. This advanced system not only verifies the traveler's identity efficiently, but also validates their flight details and security clearance status seamlessly. Anonymous pointed out that one of the most significant disadvantages of facial recognition technology is its potential to infringe upon individual privacy rights. These new facial recognition systems are capable of capturing and analyzing biometric data, including facial features and characteristics, without individuals' consent or knowledge. And this raises concerns about unauthorized surveillance, tracking, and profiling of individuals' movements and activities. In a society where privacy is increasingly valued, the indiscriminate use of facial recognition technology by governments, law enforcement agencies, and private companies has sparked controversy and legal challenges. Anonymous argue that facial recognition poses a threat to civil liberties and democratic principles, undermining individuals' rights to privacy, autonomy, and freedom of expression. Facial recognition technology also poses security risks and vulnerabilities that could be exploited by malicious actors. The collection and storage of biometric data in centralized databases create potential targets for hackers and cybercriminals seeking to access sensitive information or manipulate facial recognition systems for illicit purposes. The Transportation Security Administration promotes this initiative as a means to enhance the efficacy and productivity of security measures. In contrast, some officials within the US government view it as laying the groundwork for the establishment of a pervasive national surveillance system. The Transportation Security Administration representative shared with news outlets that the introduction of facial recognition technology has significantly boosted the efficiency and effectiveness of security protocols. Furthermore, the spokesperson emphasized that this innovative technology not only enhances security measures, but also elevates the overall passenger experience. The individual emphasized that the technological advancement offers a substantial boost in security measures, particularly considering the critical role of identity verification in ensuring robust transportation security. The Transportation Security Administration has refrained from disclosing the specific airports slated to receive facial recognition screening as a security measure. The initiative drew the interest of legislators back in February of the previous year, when the Transportation Security Administration commenced the implementation of facial recognition technology in specific airports across the United States. This strategic move by the TSA aimed to enhance security measures and streamline passenger processing procedures. Senator Edward Markey of Massachusetts emphasized the importance of ensuring that passengers are not put in a position where they have to compromise either their safety or their privacy while traveling, particularly in light of the TSA's recent implementation. The TSA initiative serves as a foundational step towards a potential scenario where a comprehensive nationwide surveillance system could be established. In a society where privacy and freedom are fundamental national values, entrusting any government with excessive power poses a grave threat. The delicate balance between governmental authority and individual rights is crucial to uphold the essence of democracy and personal liberty. Senate members wrote a letter addressed to the Transportation Security Administration, urging the organization to discontinue the use of facial recognition technology. The senators expressed concerns that the implementation of this technology could potentially worsen highlighted issues. Moreover, they highlighted the potential risks to Americans' safety and security if the biometric data collected were to be accessed by unauthorized individuals or private corporations. The senators emphasized the importance of safeguarding citizens' privacy and preventing any misuse of sensitive biometric information. Congressional lawmakers took their concerns one step further in November by denouncing facial recognition screenings at airports and a proposed bipartisan Traveler Privacy Protection Act to prevent the TSA from collecting facial biometric data. Senator John Kennedy said that every day, TSA scans thousands of Americans' faces without their permission and without making it clear that travelers can opt out of the invasive screening. Despite numerous appeals for the Transportation Security Administration to cease its objectionable utilization of facial recognition technologies, the agency has persistently broadened its deployment throughout various regions in the nation. This ongoing expansion of facial recognition technology by the TSA has raised concerns among privacy advocates and civil liberties groups. Travelers must have the freedom to travel by air without compromising their fundamental right to privacy, which should not be treated as just another piece of baggage. If the Traveler Privacy Protection Act is approved, a mandate would be imposed on the Transportation Security Administration to promptly cease its facial recognition initiative and eliminate all biometric information within a time frame of 3 months. Kennedy expressed his disbelief at the TSA's decision to further develop its intrusive facial recognition initiative, despite reservations from Congress. He highlighted the agency's attempt to ignore legitimate privacy worries by emphasizing that citizens' concerns regarding their privacy remain steadfast. The situation raises questions about the TSA's priorities and disregard for public sentiments. Moreover, Kennedy's remarks underscore the tension between governmental security measures and individual rights, signaling a crucial need for a balanced approach that respects both security needs and personal privacy. The Transportation Security Administration has clarified that the facial recognition software implemented will not retain any data utilized during the verification process, nor will it be employed for surveillance or law enforcement objectives. The Transportation Security Administration official informed NextGov that the agency is in the initial phases of incorporating automated facial recognition technology to enhance the existing credential authentication technology devices that were implemented a few years ago. The integration of automated facial recognition capabilities is seen as a significant advancement in the agency's efforts to enhance security measures and improve verification processes at security checkpoints. At the airports, travelers will encounter prominent signs at the screening area entrance, informing them about the utilization of facial recognition technology. Additionally, these notices will provide reassurance to travelers by guaranteeing that the airport system does not retain or preserve any individual's data following a successful identification match. This measure aims to enhance security protocols while also ensuring passenger privacy and data protection. The TSA fact sheet emphasized that the sole exemption would occur in a limited testing environment for evaluation of the effectiveness of the technology. This exception pertains to specific scenarios where the technology is being rigorously assessed to determine its efficacy. The facial recognition technology is created using CAT scanners, which take real-time pictures and compare the photo to the person's photo ID. The system employs sophisticated artificial intelligence models that have been trained to develop a biometric template based on the unique facial characteristics of an individual. This template is then utilized to make a comparison with the facial traits depicted in a different image. The United States government lacks specific guidance, regulation, or legislation to effectively control the use of facial recognition technology, leading to concerns regarding potential infringements on human rights, privacy violations, and encroachments on civil liberties. In the previous year, the Transportation Security Administration disclosed that it successfully conducted security screenings for an unprecedented total of over 858 million travelers, translating to a daily average of 2.4 million passengers. This noteworthy figure underscores the immense volume of individuals passing through security checkpoints on a daily basis. In recent years, advancements in technology have enabled governments around the world to deploy sophisticated surveillance tools to monitor and track individuals' activities, both online and offline. From mass surveillance programs to location tracking and social media monitoring, governments have increasingly relied on surveillance to gather intelligence, investigate crimes, and maintain social control. However, the expansion of government surveillance has raised concerns about the erosion of privacy rights and the potential for abuse of power. Anonymous has been quick to highlight the dangers of unchecked surveillance, warning people about the risks of living in a surveillance state where individuals' every move is monitored and tracked by the government. One of the primary ways in which Anonymous warns people about government tracking is by exposing and raising awareness about surveillance programs and practices. Through data leaks, whistleblowing, and online activism, Anonymous has uncovered numerous instances of government surveillance and provided evidence of mass surveillance programs conducted by intelligence agencies such as the NSA and CIA. For example, in 2013, former NSA contractor Edward Snowden leaked classified documents revealing the extent of the NSA's global surveillance apparatus, including the PRISM program, which collected vast amounts of data from major tech companies. Anonymous played a crucial role in disseminating this information to the public, raising awareness about the scale and scope of government surveillance. In addition to exposing government surveillance programs, Anonymous also educates the public about the dangers of surveillance and provides guidance on how individuals can protect their privacy and digital rights. Through online forums, social media channels, and informational resources, Anonymous shares tips and tools for safeguarding personal information and resisting government tracking. Anonymous encourages individuals to use encryption, secure communication channels, and privacy-enhancing technologies to protect themselves from surveillance and maintain anonymity online. By empowering people with knowledge and resources, Anonymous aims to counteract government surveillance and promote a culture of privacy and digital freedom. Another way in which Anonymous warns people about government tracking is by challenging government overreach and advocating for legal and policy reforms to protect privacy rights. Anonymous organizes protests, petitions, and campaigns to raise awareness about surveillance issues and pressure governments to enact meaningful reforms. Anonymous calls for increased transparency, accountability, and oversight of government surveillance programs, as well as stricter limits on the collection and use of personal data. By holding governments accountable for their surveillance practices, Anonymous seeks to protect individuals' rights to privacy and freedom of expression in the digital age. As of right now, Anonymous plays a crucial role in warning people about government surveillance and tracking of individuals. Through exposing surveillance programs, educating the public, and challenging government overreach, Anonymous raises awareness about the dangers of unchecked surveillance and advocates for privacy rights and digital freedom.